Cowardice asks, the question, is it safe? Expediency asks, the question, is it politic? Vanity asks, the question, is it popular? But conscience asks, the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must do it because conscience tells him it is right.
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard.
Fighting for humanity and against globalism, one mind at a time. It's the Freedom Link with Joe Joseph.
Well, good evening, everybody. Some of you I haven't seen in a very long time, and it's good to be back. I got some questions out there that I will get to answer. But one thing you'll probably notice is that Scotty is not here tonight. Well, Scotty's feeling a little bit under the weather, and due to that, I am flying solo. There may be a sighting, if you will, of Popeye too. He might pop on. Pop on. Yeah, I kid. No, it's going to be a pretty interesting broadcast tonight, primarily because there is a lot to be concerned with out there. I don't know if you noticed, but the world is quite unstable and crazy. Yeah, we'll just put it that way. So I'm going to go over tonight just how crazy it is. Sometimes it's easy to live in a bubble. Echo chambers are vast on social media, and you don't realize what other people in different cultures in different parts of the world are actually going through too. In America, things tend to be focused on, America, because we're America. That's how it works. So, questions. I saw in the chat room prior to the broadcast, where have you been? Well, I've been with KGRA for a little bit. And the website, is kgradb.com. You can go there and check it out. But working with them to kind of do this again, I kind of felt compelled to, quite frankly, because there is a lot to be concerned about. There's a lot to be concerned about across the spectrum of everything. There is things afoot. The problems we face are much more macro than we might think. So, yes, compelled to do so, but due to personal events, I took a hiatus because, man, when all is said and done, I have one hell of a story to tell. The short version, though, is all of you that do your very best to follow the truth, because the truth is the story. Because, frankly, the truth is in the eye of the beholder. Your truth is different than my truth. But there are some constants out there. And a lot of people, due to the internet, have been able to discover them for themselves. A lot of them becoming black sheep in their families. We all know that when you go down the slippery slopes, they tend to run contrary to what is considered societal norms, right? So we do that, and then all of a sudden, well, you know what? That guy there, he's a conspiracy theorist, you see. Yeah, well, yeah, things have gotten really crazy. So, family attacked my family and caused a myriad of problems that you hear around independent alternative media. Typically, those that stick their neck out, it tends to get, or so they try. So they try. And 3 years, my wife and I have been going toe to toe with the legal system. And we're on the downward slide now. So I have a little more time to be able to do this again and devote it to. And I'm going to be doing, this is an hour tonight, but on the 10th of September, so day before 9/11, I'm going to start doing this 2 hours every Saturday, me and Scotty Lopez. And it's going to be insightful. A lot of the stuff that you guys know, like this is great here. This is a great comment. Look at this. You red pilled me about a decade ago. Glad to see you back. Well, I am glad to be back. And let me tell you something. I can't thank everybody enough for the kindness that has been my way. So, with that said, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. And I feel necessary to highlight some of this stuff because we're not alone, folks. Everybody out there is suffering. You might remember me and my friend Kev Baker, who passed away. But we used to cover things, him being in the UK, me being here in the United States, and it was really easy to get that world kind of picture. And I'm just glad that I'm able to do this again. So I'm going to start out today with France. Now, France, of course, Europe, in the grips of inflation. Now, here in the United States, just for everybody in the UK and Europe to understand, we're not used to paying egregious amounts of money for petrol or gasoline. And the shortages that have come out, a lot of it's been blamed on the pandemic. But unfortunately, that's not the whole story, right? But our world runs on oil. It does. It does a lot more than generating power. It does a lot more than putting it in the tank. It's in plastics. It's in a whole load of different things. It's Polymer City, USA, is centered around oil. And for the world, for that matter. Then there's the rare earth element problem, which is another problem that has reared its ugly head. And we've seen it in the chip industry, but really it goes back even farther than that. Okay, so you got to have things to make the chips, right? Raw materials. Well, when China owns over 90% of the rare earth element mines, which was a very smart strategic thing to do, well, guess what? They control the game. And when they went zero COVID, that was part of the problem. But one of the main problems is it's toxic as hell to mine this stuff. And they figured it out when people started like, can't breathe. Have you ever seen Shanghai in the summer? Oh, man, it's terrible. Terrible smog. Unbelievable. Well, they don't like it anymore. They're like, oh, boy, well, this money was great, but we're not going to have a workforce if if we keep going down this road. So they've throttled back on their production using that zero COVID as a front, but it's really not. They're trying to clean the mess up. So everybody, it's a trickle down effect. Now those prices go up, supply and demand. Well, everything centers around oil and rare earth elements. And we are inducing shortages everywhere. They're man-made shortages. These can be avoided type of shortages, but they're not. And there's a reason for it. But we'll get into that later. So France rulers warn people will see the end of abundance. No way. Max Slavo, what a great guy. SHTFplan.com. French ruler Emmanuel Macron told the rulers over that they will experience the end of abundance and will have to make sacrifice. No shit, Sherlock. Really? Thank you very much. This has been a long time coming, folks. And by the way, also, you have to throw earth changes into this. That is critical to the conversation. So let's just remember that too. Earth changes affect everything. A lot of people call it climate change. You can call it what you want. The earth is changing. The cosmos is changing. All of the planets are changing. The sun is changing. Everything is changing. So these things are going to happen. And you should expect them to get worse. And they're telling you this because they know and have a pretty good idea of where this is going. But anyway, it says France has had multiple challenges lately. Of course, you know, you've had the trucker thing from a couple of years back, so they're still pretty raw about that. But anyway, it says the country and its citizens must be ready to make sacrifices to meet and overcome the challenges they're facing. Our system based on freedom, in which we have become used to living when we need to defend it sometimes, that can entail making sacrifices. What he's saying is, the good times are over. And I've been saying this for a long time. My generation, Generation X, from our generation forward, we had to start paying for the sins of the past, for the 3 generations before us that really lived high on the hog and generated an absolute assload of debt that now we're going to have to pay for. Now, here's the problem. Here's the problem, France. The problem is, what do you do when you have $30 trillion in debt and you got runaway inflation? That's not going to stop. This is the end. This is what happens when empires die. Mark my word, this is not going to be good. And they can sugarcoat it all they want. Now, they're going to have solutions, of course. One of them, the Great Reset. But you have to see how that plays out. Who the hell knows about that? But you're going to have at first shortages. Now, everybody, for homework tonight, I would like you to go back to the Soviet Union and take a look at what happened. Take a look at what happened there. Yeah, Jay Watt in the chat room is absolutely right. In the hole. Gonski, flushed. By the way, that has nothing to do with unfunded liabilities of almost $200 trillion, but I digress. So what happens when you print? See, they thought this was the prevailing idea. The prevailing idea among economists, some, was that you can print until the cows come home. Why? Because everybody else is doing it. Wee-hoo! And so was the idea. But it didn't work. It didn't work. Because what happened was you put too many dollars into the money supply and you basically water it down. It's simple math, actually. And the Federal Reserve monetized $9 trillion from basically the time the pandemic started to, well, no, let's dial it back a bit, because they had money on their balance sheet from the collapse of 2008, Lehman Brothers. So what happened? What happened? $9 trillion they injected into the money supply at basically interest-free levels, maybe a little bit higher. Well, what do you think's going to happen? So here we are now, present day, and they have a problem. Inflation, of course, being an invisible tax, but they have to take the money out. So now they start taking the money out. Well, how do they do that? They have to let debt mature, not reissue it, because a lot of this stuff is in the form of bonds and mortgage-backed securities. And then they raise interest rates to stifle demand. Now, they're not going to stop for a long time. This is going to be catastrophic. Meanwhile, a lot of people went and bought homes sight unseen, competing against big multi-billion-dollar corporations that were just scooping everything up cash and now driven rents through the roof. And that's, of course, contributed to inflation. And that's not just a United States thing. That is also a global thing. It's crazy what's going on right now. You've got China, of course, that has all the ghost cities built. What the hell happened there? Why is that happening? Oh, maybe the Great Reset? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. So here we are, France. Oh, what about the European Union? This is interesting. Let me share this little tidbit with you. Of course, you know, I've known Michael Snyder for years, and he's always pretty doggone spot on about this stuff. European natural gas prices are 6 times higher than last year. 6 times. Imagine that. Imagine, if you will, United States, that your natural gas bill or your oil bill or whatever you heat your house with is 6 times higher this year than it was last year. That's going to piss people off. Well, I think it's going, you know, and then, don't get me wrong, but Europe is pretty good for protesting, and they're pretty ripe for it right now, considering what's going on. It says here, this is going to be a bitterly cold winter for a whole lot of people. In particular, things are likely to get really uncomfortable. Yeah, because they're already telling people, by the way, not take showers as often. Oh, people in Finland or Norway up there, you know. Oh, the saunas are the thing. In Norway, I think they have 4.5 million people and 3 million saunas. Let's just put that in perspective right now. So they're telling people, hey, you might want to not use the sauna every day. How about just once a week? That's a little, I mean, now these are things that are built into the culture there. You know what I mean? And it's just getting out of control. I mean, people's lives are being totally affected. So it says here, thanks to the war in Ukraine and a number of other factors, the price of natural gas in Europe is now approximately 6 times higher than it was last year. And it says that natural gas prices are taking a breather amid further signs that soaring energy costs are crippling economic output. It's crazy. Needless to say, there's a lot of people pissed off. Look at this. British grassroots group, Don't Pay UK. That's a huge thing right now. Almost akin to the Debt Collective here in the United States. It was one of the lobbying groups that, agree with it or not, the education system's broken. And they were one of the influential groups. And mind you, there's nobody in that organization, I looked into them, that is affluent, if you will. And they basically took can't really call him I mean, he's just old, an old president. And they basically strong-armed him into forgiving some debt. But you could do that all day long. The problem is these universities are ripping people off, and it's gotten out of control. So you got that, but Don't Pay UK, same thing. So they are calling for people to boycott energy bills from October 1st, while the trade union-backed Enough is Enough campaign kicked off a series of rallies and actions in mid-August, calling for price raises, rent caps, and all sorts of other things to stem the bleeding. Stem the bleeding. And this is the problem. The Western economies are collapsing. They're tied together and they're collapsing. And it's because of simple math. It's supply and demand. When there is more of something, it's worth less. When you flood the market with dollars, They're worth less. They're watered down. So that's what's happened. And now normally you'd be able to weather the storm like they did in the 80s with some social programs and things like that. If you wanted to go down the standard path, you could do that because your debt to income, your debt to GDP was you could handle it. But now you're going to start seeing these interest rates go up and up and up and up, and they're not going to stop. Then when the debt matures, all this debt that they got for free, they're going to have to redo it at 6%. It's going to take 90% of the income tax just to service the interest on the debt. Now what do? Oh, we've seen this before in history. It's called austerity, you see. Austerity is something that's one of their favorite words. Ask our Greek friends what austerity is like. Ask them. Oh, boy. Activist post. Doomsday scenario. 70% of British pubs may not survive the winter as power costs skyrocket. 70%. What in the hell? You think there's riots now? Oh, yeah. Close down 70% of the pubs in the UK. Oh, boy. Yeah. That's a troubling survey. Says that if electricity prices continue to soar, 70% of the respondents say they will be unable to operate and forced to close up shop. More than 65% of pub surveys says power costs rose more than 100%. And the utility costs total jumped 200%. And 8% of these respondents experienced 500% increases. Most pubs warned they couldn't afford the exponential rise in energy costs, but here they are. Matter of fact, one pub told The Guardian the utilities quoted them a 600% increase in power costs versus their current contract. How do you handle something like that? You know, it's not like you can flip a switch like the Federal Reserve and print more money. Doesn't work for us. So I think people are going to be pissed. That's what Paul Craig Roberts thinks. On his blog, he wrote, the British are about to revolt. I can't believe it. I mean, this is, you don't understand, like nature and everything else, very, very, very fragile. Very fragile. I kind of equate it to like a tabletop, just sitting on one pole and just perfectly balanced. And it doesn't take much for it to go off kilter, and it doesn't take much for it to collapse. And we're there. This thing is doing this. It's terrible. I have an economist piece too here. China's economy is beset by problems. You don't say. But it's all man-made. See, this is the problem. It's man-made. And then this is also the reason why you don't entangle yourself as much globally. It was wrong, I think, to take advantage of emerging economies. And really, that's what we were doing. And the United States continues to do by letting corporate America go in, and basically global corporations go in and, to emerging economies like Vietnam, Indonesia. Actually, Indonesia is not even emerging anymore. They were already taken advantage of, and then they moved on. Well, China's getting to that point now too, you see. China's getting too expensive. So now you've got other countries that are doing it, like Africa. Now, if you can get somebody to work for $2 a day, hey, I'll ship things everywhere. Oh, until shipping costs too much. Now what do you do? So what you see now is it becomes cost prohibitive to take advantage of people that way. So now we're just going to bring everything back in. We're going to nationalize it again. Well, now your labor costs skyrocket. Well, this is why Macron's saying that. The age of abundance is over. We can't do this. You see, once inflation starts, here's the other thing too. This is another thing that I thought about. Wages. right? Wages haven't grown relative to inflation since the 1970s. And so the purchasing power of Americans and everybody in the Western economy, for that matter, has been just eviscerated. It's gone. And there's no more cushion there. It's they've looted everybody. And there's no more room for them to extract from the labor market. They already don't pay people enough. But they're saying, well, we have to suppress wages because if we don't, then you're going to have to give everybody a raise. Well, then they're going to pass it on to the parts or the goods or the services. And then it's a cyclical thing and it just goes down the tubes. It's very hard to stop once it starts. Because when you're that table and you're balancing on this, it doesn't just go back to being whoop again. Doesn't do that. Once it starts going off kilter, it normally doesn't recover. So I found a very interesting article talking about this. Oh, well, what do you know? Look at who's here. Popeye, how you doing, buddy, old pal? I missed you, man. By the way, and folks out there, of course, Popeye is my old bud, an OG, and we, just so you know, Popeye, it's the first time in 5 years I'm broadcasting on the Sheeple channel. So it's, so they're all like coming out of the woodwork, and I'm seeing a lot of faces and names I haven't seen in a long time.
Well, I'll try to be on my best YouTube behavior for you then, Joe. I can't promise that my voice
I've been trying.
Won't set the algorithm off.
Yes, I don't want to do that. I'm trying not to.
I know. I've been trying to do this whole. I let the newer technology with live streaming definitely makes it much easier and streamlined to reach out to people and get the truth out. It's kind of scary how we're living in what we talked about for years, and not just you or me, but like all the OG researchers and radio show hosts or podcasters, video creators. Everybody has been, authors, people that wrote books. Have been warning about this for like 10, 15 years, but there's people that like G. Edward Griffin, they've been doing this since, the 70s.
No doubt,
even
dude.
Before, and we're living in what they warned us about, dude. We're literally, I expected it, but it's still kind of strange, to live in the world. Even 3 years ago, I remember doing live streams with you, the late Kev Baker. Kev, love you, buddy, wherever you are. You know all the secrets.
Delta Quadrant. He's out there somewhere in Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, he's probably doing a podcast on the other side, making fun of Earth. He's like, look at the morons over there in that dimension. Yeah. So, like, we used to do streams. Remember in like 2019, we were talking about, I'd come on and I'd be like, hey, did you guys see those videos from China? And you're like, yeah, people are dropping. Yeah, well, something's going to happen. I don't know what it is, but everybody should go out and get prepared because they're probably going to lock everything down. You fear monger. That'll never happen. Boof. Boot dropped.
Look at COVID was a beta test, if you ask me.
Yes.
And they also gauge how many people will just go ahead and go with the flow by getting the you know what I mean? Okay.
Yes, that's what it was for.
It was a beta test, and they saw, how many people will participate? How many won't? Oh, well, let's see who doesn't. Let's see
who will go
doesn't.
right along to get along, Joe.
That's right. That's right.
And it's amazing. We talked about this. I remember doing Saturday and Sunday streams on Kev's YouTube channel talking about this.
Oh, yeah,
and
dude.
we'd be going over this. And it was like, these are the different possibilities. And literally within 6 months, everything that we had talked about, they pushed. Even we have to get rid of cash because it could have dirty buggies on it. Ooh, it's got the cooties on cash. So we have to get rid of it and make everything digital so you don't get the coof.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, I found a very interesting article that I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I say we should check it out. Is God punishing the United States of America? I hate these effing articles that start that way, only because Ask the people in the UK if they feel like they're being punished. Ask the people up in in the Norwegian area. Are they being punished? How about those peeps down in Italy? Are they being punished? Or Africa or China or Russia or down in South America? Are they being punished? It seems to me like there's a whole bunch of punishing going on. I don't think that it's just the United States of America. I think that it's a little more widespread, buddy. I think that I haven't, nor do I remember, a time when there has been such chaos. Do you?
Well, dude, the world is like
crazy.
And I don't even know. Like, I know what they're doing. It's amazing how much gas they're willing to pour on the fire. It's ordo ab chaos. It's literally their motto. Order.
But it was global. I mean, it used to be regional, if you will. Like,
they want not if you're going to have a new world order, bro. It's not a new America order or a new Mexico order. It's not a new Canada order. It's a new world order. So they have to stir the pot and go from continent to continent, country to country, and get everybody fighting and angry and pissed off. And then as they're doing it, they're erasing the base of everything.
Yes, they are.
There's a base set of, let's not say rules, but picture driving a car. This is how I used to try to get people to picture this back in the day on DTRH. Picture you're driving a car, right? Now, your basics for driving the car are you have the road. You don't even need, I mean, the traffic lights are kind of a necessity, but let's say you have traffic lights, stop signs, and the lines on the road, right? And the curbs. That gives you a general idea of where you have to keep your vehicle while you're driving, whatever direction you're going, whatever lane you're traveling in. And it gives you an idea of when you have to stop or, turn, anything like that. Well, imagine that as you're driving, now picture the country as the car and society as the people in the car. Okay. And as we're driving along, right. And now you don't even have to picture the car as a country. The car is the entire world now. And as we're driving along the road, they're eroding. Suddenly the center line starts to disappear. And you're like, hey, where'd the center line go? Oh, what's cool. I got the curbs on either side. So in my brain, I can guesstimate about where I got to keep the car. And then all of a sudden, and you have landmarks, like there's trees and stuff and maybe some buildings, which you use to direct yourself. Oh, I got to go this direction because, there's the big old oak tree, or there's Johnson's food store. Well, suddenly Johnson's food store disappears. Then the oak tree disappears. Then all of a sudden the stop sign and the street light disappear. Now the only thing left, you don't know like what's coming up. You don't know if someone's going to come ripping across the intersection because you can't tell what's coming. They don't know what's coming. There's no stop sign there. There's no signal for people to slow down and take a look to remind people, because maybe their brain goes into autopilot. That happens when you're driving. So the only thing left now are the curbs. Well, you can at least still see where you're going, kind of figure out where the car is. Then the curbs disappear. Now there's nothing but a little piece of road and just white. Pictures nothing else around you but white. The absence of everything. There's nothing there. Okay. There's just absolutely, or black, but picture it better, just black. There's nothing but the road and all blackness around you and everywhere else.
I like where you went there. That was very woke editing. Just so we're all clear.
Yes. Well, I wanted to make sure I didn't, I wasn't all inclusive.
Yes, so, very inclusive. We have to be inclusive.
Right. I don't want to be color phobic from
Thank you very much.
Because that would be silly.
I appreciate that.
So imagine you're driving on this road and it's just darkness and nothing else around you. And then the road disappears. And now there's no roadway. Now you don't know what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right. You don't have a bearing for anything. All you know is you feel the momentum hurtling forward, but you're not even really sure what forward is. Forward could be down, left, right, up. You don't know. And that's what they're doing with the planet, because even though we can't see in the dark, they can. That's right. What the whole illuminated, we're the Illuminati and we're so cool, we're elites. That's what that is. That's what they have.
That's really more knowledge than the rest. This is all induced, right? This is all this is all avoidable. We'll put it that way.
Yes, dude. Very
totally
avoidable.
100% avoidable. I find it funny that, of course, the Rockefeller Foundation or the Rockefeller Foundation was the ones that came up with that term, their term fossil fuels, when in fact it has nothing to do with them. They're fossils. It's called an abiotic fuel that the earth makes, and it comes up, and that's what happens. But they'll tell you that there's a shortage. There's no shortage. There is not shortages, but even so, take it another step further, right? There is technology that's existed for a very long time. Back in the old sheeple days, it was, I talked about T. Henry Murray and his magical box back in the 1920s that made 50 kilowatts of power out of the vacuum of space-time. This was in the 1920s, then you had Antoine Priori and his fabulous machine that the Academy of Science in France dumped a lot of money and had a lot of faith in, was curing cancer, all using electromagnetism. And
we obviously have to arrest that guy because he's obviously a
that's what happened. That's what happened. Once it got to a certain point, there's no money in cures. No.
Well, he's obviously an effing terrorist, Joe.
That's what I'm saying. He was, because, God forbid we advance humanity in some sort of way. So now we're here, right? Now we have this. They want to get everybody to go to electric. Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. But why are they going about it this way? If they go about it the current way, right, what's going to end up happening is there's not going to be enough grid capacity because they still use this archaic stuff to say, because there's no batteries, no battery backup. So when it gets dark at night and your solar panels don't generate power and your wind ain't blowing and your hydropower, we had to shut that off. We couldn't shut it off. It got down shut off because we ran out of water. Damn. So people are going to go to work, working 9 to 5. And then the next thing you know, they're going to say, God damn, I got to freaking wash my clothes. Yeah, you can't do that.
First of all, who do you think you are that you want to wash your clothes? What do you think, you're a noble?
Yeah, you can't. Are you noble?
Go to the river. Go down to the river and do it with your washboard. You want to use electricity?
What's that? I mean, electricity, right? God forbid. God forbid
you want to use something to power your washing machine to wash the clothes for you.
Right. So
I'm sorry, I didn't want to live in the 1800s.
Okay, so with that said, I want everybody to know that some of the focus over the next few months is going to be on subsistence living and how you can offset a lot of this stuff that's going on and become quasi-independent. Does it take a change in lifestyle? Well, first of all, you're going to learn just how expensive it can be to maintain the level of convenience, because of course we're all wrapped up in that culture of convenience now. But if you do know how to change that lifestyle and live a more simple life, then it ends up actually freeing you of a lot of the pressures that you put on yourself that you don't even realize you put on yourself, but it's an effing programming thing that starts from the day you're born, that you will conform. You will be institutionalized. You will learn prison culture in our schools. That's right. You remember on that presentation, the history of the New World Order I did, is all from these people throughout time, in their own words, telling you that that's the plan and has been the plan for quite some time, quite frankly. So these things aren't going to get any better. And you don't believe it when they tell you that. And holy crap, I can't believe that this day has got here, Poopy, because it is absolutely nutty, crazy. I always say, I remember when Bush ran he was going out of office and Obama was coming in. I said, damn, man, I can't believe it can't get any worse than Bush. This guy's a freaking asshat. And then Obama came and it was terrible. you know. And by the way, there was some times when Ron Paul actually like was getting some momentum. We were like, holy crap, he's actually going to do it. No.
Right. And then they did the 2008 purge of YouTube. That was when the first YouTube purge happened, by the way. A lot of people don't know this, but there was the YouTubers that are out now, the live streamers that you see now are not the progenitors of this whole thing. YouTube Truth or whatever started a long time ago in like the early 2000s. And by 2008, We Are Change, groups like We Are Change, channels like Change the Channel was one of the original guys. Good old Ken Webb, you know, he's one of the original guys. Enough Respect, remember him? I've played his Kennedy video that he did. I played that thing ad nauseum. I mean, this was stuff that was coming out in like 2005, 2006, which was like groundbreaking back then for a lot of this stuff. And it would get hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube. The censorship that happens now wasn't going on. It started to creep in, and they were using the copyright crap. And then all of a sudden, Ron Paul became really popular, and YouTube was where there was a lot of Ron Paul videos.
Oh, the Ron Paul revolution. It was all YouTube.
Her name was. She made that song about Ron Paul.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like this hit song about Ron Paul and freedom and who Ron Paul was. And people were like, who is this little old man? And he was like, hey, we should audit the Federal Reserve. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately, all of a sudden, anything Ron Paul related got booted off of YouTube. Right at the time, he was close to, you know, he won enough votes at the RNC convention to get the Republican nomination to run against Obama. But they knew this is how you know it's rigged. Okay.
Yep.
Because the powers that be behind the scenes knew that if you put a man like Ron Paul up against Obama, who was going to be running for his second term, he would lose because Ron Paul could out debate him. It didn't matter that Obama is a great speaker. He has to read from a teleprompter. And if he was in a head-to-head debate with someone as intelligent as Ron Paul, he would have lost. So instead, they rigged it so that Mitt Romney would get the nomination because just like
he's a better actor.
John McCain and Sarah Palin up against him. Are you kidding me? Like, of course they set it up to lose.
If that didn't show that the system was rigged, I don't know what did. I mean, that was just
Dude,
terrible.
It's a game.
It was terrible, right? So you have that progression. Well, then Trump comes along, and I said, well, what's the distraction? Because this guy, it's not the full story. You know, you never get the full story with Uncle Trump, but it's at least he didn't make it worse. That I can say. He didn't make it worse. So bravo for him. But now he's old. It's 78 years old. I go, oh, wow.
You can't have my governor.
Look at Grandpa Biden, right? No, I know that. I get it.
You can't have DeSantis. I don't want to give him up.
I'll be quite honest with you. I don't give a crap who does it because it doesn't matter because it's rigged.
Right. No, because it's all selected.
It's all crap. Yeah. It's all garbage.
I think so. Remember, we were live streaming the night of the election.
Yep.
And we couldn't believe, like, we were even surprised that they actually let him win. And I thought about that. I was like, why? You know, everyone was like, my God, look, we did it. And it's like, no, this is too easy. Something doesn't smell right. Like, you could say I'm jaded, but having studied this for so long, it just smells funny. I think the plan was to get him in the whole time because they knew what they were going to do to him already. They knew how they
they neutered him as soon as he got in. Yeah.
Right. He was surrounded by neocons, and then they distracted his presidency with a lot of the, they knew how to control him, his ego. So they'd attack him via his ego, and then they'd have him chasing that and not paying attention or getting other things done. And there was obviously, like what Kennedy faced, there was going to be bureaucratic pushback on the inside. But I think that I think Hillary Clinton was so devastated because, honestly, I think they told her that she was going to win, but they needed her to really, how
buy into it.
Like 9/11, they really killed people in order to pull off the whole false flag. They had to kill people. So she had to be that sacrifice. They needed to her to have that visceral emotional reaction in order to actually believe she was going to win. That's why she wasn't really trying. It didn't make any sense. She really wasn't trying on the campaign trail. So it's like, okay, she obviously knows, she thinks she's going to win. She's been told she's going to win. They wanted Trump to win because look what happened, bro. As soon as Trump won, all the bro vets, all the guys that are like, oh, I love America, America first, blah, blah. All of a sudden it was like, boom, you know, no more caring about martial law, no more caring about anything like that. No more caring that the cops were running around dressed in fatigues and that they had, you know, the 1033 program. None of that.
Come on.
All that went away. And remember, not even 2 years before, you had guys, veterans, Second Amendment folk, the Bundys, standing off in a Mexican standoff with a bunch of armed federal agents, and they backed off. And then they later on set up a trap and executed Lavoy Finicum in kind of a dirty way. I mean, it was going to happen, right? With all that was going on.
That's right. That's right.
But they totally set those guys up. They were like, hey, come to this meeting. And along the meeting, there was a stop. And then what'd they do? They executed the guy when he got out of the car. I mean, if you get out of the car, you know what's going to happen. But that was a setup, right? So you have that going on. Tensions are super high. And 2 years later, everyone's like, I love the police. I love the police state. How did you get them to love the police state so quick, bro? You just put their guy in.
Now they went from defund the police, which I was like, woohoo, you know, because say what you want, that they have totally flipped the script on that whole argument now because of that. The defund the police came about. They said, okay, well, we don't like what we got. That's fine. That's fine. We're going to pull it back. And now they're going to give you we're going to give you exactly what you want, America. You got it. You want a police state? We got it for you, baby.
That's what that whole thing was about. We warned about that when that was going on 2 years ago. Okay.
Hegelian dialectic.
Dude, they created the chaos. Oh my God, they're burning the cities down. We got to give the cops even more stuff. Let's give them tanks.
And they really never defunded the police. Only in select areas they did. But America as a whole didn't do it. Now watch.
So if you remember, right, like before Ferguson was the point where they shifted the narrative. Because before Ferguson, you had liberty-minded folk going, hey, how come the cops have MRAPs? How come they're getting all these vehicles like Bearcats? How come they're getting these mine-resistant vehicles?
Yeah, that 1033 program.
Yeah, do the cops really need a tank? I mean, is that necessary? Do they really need a tank? And people were questioning that. You even had the mainstream media being like, why are the cops? Why do they look like special forces? What's going on? Then suddenly Ferguson happened and the narrative shifted to it's racist white cops want to shoot black people. And they got everybody fighting on that so quick. It's amazing how they got everybody back on that tribal argument. And immediately I saw people that like 2 weeks before were against cops having MRAPs being like, man, it's a good thing the cops got that equipment there to keep themselves protected from all those rioters. And I was like, wait, what did you just say? I thought you were.
Well, yeah, of course. So a lot of people might be wondering also, so why is all this happening? Like, because remember, all of this is the distraction. So why? Think about this. What's the average salary of a cop? What's the average salary of a teacher? What's an average salary of your average bureaucrat at the local, state, or federal level? Well, we're hitting this part of our history now. And this is a Western economy problem where it's getting too expensive for labor for these functions, for these cities and everybody else to employ. Otherwise, they're going to have to keep taxing. We'll come up with more taxes because the 250 taxes that you pay that you don't even think about aren't enough, right? So we're going to give you more and we're going to take more. And well, they're at that point now where they need more money. And they want to create that crisis. They want that solution to be more money. We need more money. And they're going to get it. Education's a freaking problem. They're going to get it. Well, where are they going to get it from? No one's buying United States debt. So they got to print the money. Well, if they print the money, it's going to make more inflation. Do you see the problem? It's never going to stop.
Ukraine was going to hook us up and give us some of our money back.
Oh, great. No? Sure.
We just gave them another $7 billion.
Does it matter at this point? I mean, well, yes, it does. Because $7 billion would really help now.
Bro, I want people to understand I want to punch people in the face. Like, as I'm getting older, I become more of a pacifist, except over this issue. When I hear people say, when I hear people say, I'm willing to pay $4 or $5 a gallon at the pump because it means Ukraine's going to be free. Line up to the right to get slapped if you think that. Because are you kidding me right now? You're paying $5 a gallon isn't freeing Ukraine.
Yeah, that's right. But you know what? I would like to see that money taken back so we can. I got a great idea. Let's militarize all our, like, Department of Education, the IRS. Let's demilitarize. Oh, the Department of Energy. They need guns to. Oh, wait a minute. We've done that already. Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, that's the other problem, too, is that they've already set it up to where they have the change agents in place and armed. And here's the other thing, folks, that people don't understand. It takes a very, very small amount of people to lay siege to major population centers. And we've seen these tactics used and tested when
Iraq.
the EBT system in Louisiana, when that went out for 3 days. And they found out that all the food would be gone in not 3 days, but 3 hours. And that was like, that's not good.
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
Pandemic and people wiping their butts.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah. So these things are all being done. Now, remember, in 2010, we also found out that they were buying hollow point ammunition, which, of course, is outlawed by the Geneva Conventions, which is also, well, why would they do that here in America? I don't get it. So there's a whole lot of shenanigans going on. Meanwhile, they're shoving this climate change thing down your neck, which is clearly happening, by the way. It's clearly happening. However, the solution is not giving Al Gore billions of dollars, because that doesn't fix anything, nor does it help you prepare for what's coming, if you even can, but we're here, and they need all this distraction, and they need all this so you don't focus on the actual problems, because they don't want you to know. You're too dumb, you see. And it's crap. Hey, do you need me on your show? Am I going on yours? Or do you have a guest?
No, you want to come on?
Okay, I'm coming on. I'm going to go on the Rabbit Hole Radio.
I got some stuff. Actually, I dug something up because you were talking about oil and how it's abiotic. I have a clip, an 8-minute clip of Prouty talking talking about where the origin of that whole, oil is running out. And I just want to give a quick shout out to another late friend of ours, good old Liam Sheff.
Oh yeah, Liam Sheff.
Liam was a peak oil guy. He thought we were going to run out of oil, and him and I had debates on this. But the one thing that the biggest point that he used to make above that was, we are not ready to switch from oil to electric or solar or any of that, because the technology has not caught up yet. And he exposed this for years before he passed away. And he talked about how if you tried to switch the grid tomorrow, cars, whatever, the power grid, we don't have the capabilities to do that. And long story short, he was correct. And years later, he's still correct. We don't have the grid or the capability to switch over to electric cars. Let's see what happens to California. They are rolling blackouts now with the AC. Wait till everyone has electric cars.
Hey, hold that thought. So we got to go to break. Now, folks, we're going to stay here for Popeye's broadcast too. So KGRA is going to make sure it pipes to this channel. So if you want to stay tuned, we'll be back. It may have a different background, may have a little bit different music and all sorts of fun and excitement, but Popeye will take the con for the next 2 hours, and I will stick around. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.